Hundreds of thousands of dollars of high-end sports cards may have fake autographs, and now Topps is scrambling to correct this situation. We'll tell you what happened and what it means for collectors now. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode of Cards on the Table. Teapot and Doug, how are things back there in beautiful Atlanta at Cards HQ?
No, turns out we don't even need you. So
it's not raining here. We've got that going for us, I guess.
It is somehow raining on my Bahamas vacation behind me today, but all that means is it's a great day for me to take a day away from the pool to join you guys to talk about these big stories in the sports card world today. And man, do we have some big stories brewing. We have to start with hundreds of thousands of dollars in fake autographs. This is a big problem that was recently discovered. Here's the background on this, right? So this goes back to the release of 2022-23 Dynasty Soccer by Topps. That is one of the highest end releases that Topps puts out each year. And of course, the crown jewel of the Dynasty Soccer product are the Messi patch autographs. And so when collectors either pull a Messi patch autograph or buy one from auction, they of course are absolutely thrilled to have one of the best sports cards out there, period, especially one of the best soccer cards out there. But as collectors began to purchase these cards and pull these cards and send them off to PSA for grading, PSA started rejecting the autographs. PSA would not authenticate the Messi autographs on some of those Dynasty cards. And it turns out this problem goes beyond just that Dynasty set. In fact, according to an article in The Athletic recently, there have been at least 5 Topps sets recently where the autographs have been rejected. The Messi autographs have been rejected by PSA as authentic in those sets. So PSA is saying, hey, these Messi autographs that supposedly were signed on these Topps cards, which by the way, the back of the card says that they were signed in the presence of a Topps representative and certified authentic. But PSA is saying, not so fast. We have doubt that these autographs are actually coming from Messi. Now, this could be a very high-end problem for some because there was a one of one of these cards from Dynasty that sold for over $100,000 with a Messi auto and patch on that card. And there have actually been 9 sales from Dynasty alone of Messi autographs selling for over $5,000. So you got a lot of money invested in these cards, and now you've got some very real concerns from collectors that these autographs are not actually real. One of the collectors reached out to Topps. Topps said that they conducted an internal investigation and they are going to work on a plan to replace the cards for the affected collectors with the autographs that may be in question. That was from an email from a Topps customer service representative back to one of the affected collectors. Teapot, when you first heard about this story, what was your reaction and what does it mean for collectors that are going after high-end autograph cards?
this is a massive story.
Yes,
this is hugely problem. This is like the biggest thing to me that's come out since the CT scanning dilemma and scandal and everything, just the discovery that you could scan boxes. First thing I'll say is the auto looks very similar to other PSA authenticated autos. So I have a huge question. How did PSA know this? How did PSA know to say these aren't authentic autos? Because just looking at them, there's so much variance in a player's auto from one card to the next, from everything, even within a given set, that it doesn't look substantially different enough to me to just say, oh, we can't possibly certify that, especially because it's on a card that says it's certified to be in the presence of a Topps. This isn't a card that somebody got signed in person and then is trying to pass through for authentication. So I don't understand how they knew not to authenticate the card. I also want to know, what has Topps scrambling to redo these cards? What did they uncover? What does that mean to do an internal investigation? It sounds like fraud. It sounds
does.
like to me, like Lionel Messi got a payday for signing autographs that he didn't actually sign. And how does that happen supposedly in the presence of a Topps representative, but now they're saying, oh, it didn't happen? Like this has, I want Paul Lesko to weigh in on this. This has lawsuit, class action lawsuit, specific lawsuit written all over it to me. And I also just have a question, like what are they doing with these patches when they remake these? Are they cutting them out of the card and putting them into the new cards and then redoing the cards and then getting them signed? And they're going to go this time and have Mike Mahan fly down there and sit with Lionel Messi while he signs them to make sure it's on the up and up. Like, there's so many questions around this that we absolutely need answers to. As you said, Jeff, this is big time money, but this calls into credibility all autographs on sports cards, not just this set, but overall, I would say the credibility of Topps autographs. They're giving you that guarantee on the card. And if you're holding these sealed boxes, don't sell them because you already have to deal with CT scanning and how that could possibly impact the long-term value of a high-end product like this. But on top of it now, like what if something happens to Messi and then somebody pulls a Messi and then how long are they going to replace these cards? How long are they even going to have the ability to do that with Messi? So many questions. This is a massive, massive problem. And I don't really think it can be understated.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's actually not a problem that is just unique to this situation. Of course, there's been rumors for years that Luka's auto may not be real, may have been signed by his mom on some of those early Luka cards. Of course, we had some Anthony Richardson autos, if you remember, about a year ago that PSA would not authenticate that were signed on Panini cards. I'm sure it puts the manufacturer in a tremendously awkward situation, especially when you're dealing with an athlete of Messi's level. Like, to have to go back to him and say, hey, we don't actually think you signed these cards. I'm sure that can't be an easy conversation.
Yeah.
Doug,
plus the infamous Dak Prescott auto pen issue.
Yeah, it goes back to that too. Unfortunately, it has happened. Doug, what do you make of this? And how does this get corrected to give collectors more certainty as to the authenticity of autographs in the future?
Well, I agree. This is a pretty big story. Like, as it sits on the surface level, this looks huge.
Yeah.
This has actually been a known thing in the soccer community for a while. I've known of this rumor for over a year, maybe 2 years, that allegedly Messi's brother signs these autos, a lot of his autos. And a lot of people that are hardcore in this community can tell just by looking at it. My friend Paul, not Lesko, a different Paul from the Discord I'm in, he just posted something from 2024 Topps Chrome, a red Messi auto, and he's just like, look at this, ha ha ha, like this is obviously not Messi's auto. And if you compare that to older Messi autos, not quite the same. If you compare it to other Messi autos within the same set, not quite the same. A lot of people that are dedicated to that part of the hobby, they can look at it and right away and tell you this isn't real, or this isn't Messi's auto. And I think that maybe word got to PSA and they've taken a harder look at it and kind of they're on board now as well. This is worrisome for a lot of reasons. The thing that catches me the most is, of course, the verbiage on the back of the card. It says the signing of all Topps cards is witnessed by Topps to guarantee authenticity. But it seems like they're admitting in this case that those aren't authentic autos, or they wouldn't be going through steps to replace that. So if it's admission that those aren't real, that statement on the back of the card is a lie. That can't be true. And that brings into question every other statement on the back of every other Topps card. Player worn, prove it.
Yeah.
Game worn, prove it. This is from Shohei's 50th home run, prove it. I don't know if how you can take them at their word anymore just by reading the back of the card. This brings everything into question. This goes well beyond Dynasty. If Dynasty cards might get replaced with authentic autos, and that's great for those people, this could potentially have been happening for years across different products. How do all these customers get rectified? What process do you go through for that? You said some words that I'm not going to repeat earlier, class action, and then what follows that. It's kind of scary, but it's in my thought process as well. What do you do about this? This is so big.
I mean, autos are among the cards that have the biggest, cost, the biggest price. They are the biggest price cards. I have 3 Dynasty cards in my possession, of baseball. I have definitive cards. I have a lot of Topps autographs in my collection, as well as other manufacturers. How do I know?
You've always trusted that it was
I've always
authenticated
trusted that they're authenticated in the presence of a Topps representative, and it sounds like maybe that's not the case.
Well, representative is a kind of wide open for interpretation word, right? It doesn't say in the presence of a Topps employee. It says in the presence of a Topps representative.
Yeah.
Now, Topps can designate just about anybody to be their representative to go and make sure those autos were actually signed. I'm guessing that they probably are relying on somebody like Messi's agent as their representative to ensure the authenticity of the autographs, right? So you probably
Let's get KPMG back on the phone.
I mean, I'm sure. Look, I'm sure Topps was, very surprised by this, very not happy about this by any means. I'm sure this is a big issue for them, and I'm sure they absolutely do not want this. So whoever was their representative in this case, I'm sure they had one. I'm sure that, they're thinking about that person's liability, right? And if this person has misrepresented that those autographs were actually signed by Messi, and if Messi didn't actually sign them, seems to me like you got both the representative and Messi himself with a lot of Messi liability. Ultimately, they're the ones that are probably responsible for this, not Topps. But Topps is obviously the middleman here that did stamp their logo on those cards and did stamp that message on the back of it that they're certifying it authentic. So definitely a messy situation. No pun intended. I hope the collectors get their cards back with proper signatures if these signatures are in fact not proper. And I hope all the manufacturers, not just Topps, tighten up their policies around autographs a little bit more going forward so we can be assured of the authenticity of autographs. And there is one manufacturer, actually, we're going to talk about in just a second, that is taking some strides in a different area of cards to make sure there are, in fact, authentic patches on cards. That's a big deal. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But guys, it feels like a great day to rip a few Arena Club slab packs. So I'm going to toss it down to you guys. Let's rip some slab packs from Arena Club.
All right, Jeff, let me go first. I actually ripped Emerald Basketball. Looking forward to this. Hopefully somebody from the finals, maybe Shea or Joel Embiid.
Or the guy...
Silver Prism rookie, PSA 10. That's probably right on par with the pack right there, I would think.
Yeah, they've come down some, so now it's kind of at that value maybe.
I could do worse.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the one good thing about that, Doug, is Joel Embiid is at certainly a low point right now. His card prices, his market, they're at a low point. They could
haven't you gone out on a limb on Joel Embiid before?
I have. It was actually Teapot, though, that did recently in a challenge. So we've all got a little making up to do.
I still beat
Joel
you, Jeff.
Embiid.
Let's not get crazy here.
All right. Let's go, Teapot. Who you got?
I ripped Emerald Baseball. All right, who's this? Oh,
you tell me.
Davison De Los Santos. Not super familiar with him. Looks like Diamondbacks. Actually, I think he's in the Marlins system now. That's the yellow Bowman Chrome First Auto PSA 10. So hard to complain with that. Auto's a little off to the side.
Really missed the box there.
Yeah, missed the box. Nice to put that up in the signing zone where they give you all the white space.
Just a bit outside.
It's not a straight line, at least like Cam Reddish. So.
There you go.
It's not too bad.
All right, guys, I went a little off script today. I'm feeling lucky today. I'm feeling good. So I actually plunked down my own credit card to buy a diamond multi-sport pack. I'm going high end, the best of the best. But you guys are going to have to tell me what I get. You guys are going to open it right there.
Okay, let's see.
This guy.
Here we go.
Trevor Lawrence downtown.
Okay, is it rookie?
9.5.
Is it rookie?
It is the rookie downtown.
Yes.
BGS 9.5.
Okay, I actually really like that. I tell you what, with Travis Hunter now on the Jags, I feel like there's going to actually be a little bit of Trevor Lawrence hype this offseason. They got a new coach. They got Travis Hunter. I actually like that. That's going to be a strong card to have here as we get towards football season. So, all right, hey.
Not a bad hit.
I think I did pretty good there. And guys, the real winner in this can be you, because if you want to rip an Arena Club slab pack and you use promo code SCI20, you're going to get 20% off your first purchase at Arena Club. So download the Arena Club app and then promo code SCI20 for 20% off your first slab pack. All right, guys, let's talk about a different manufacturer, Upper Deck, who, in my opinion, has done something great to help fight against fraud in the sports card hobby. So Upper Deck just announced that with the new cup set, which is actually 2023-2024 cup, they're, I guess, a little behind on releasing the cup, but that's going to be releasing here. Actually, I think it releases this week. It's going to be releasing any day now, maybe even releasing today. The cup is going to be the first set that Upper Deck is putting out where all of the cards are imaged and put into a public image database at the time of them being manufactured before they are put into packs. What this means, specifically the rookie patch autograph cards, I should specify. What this means is that years from now, you're going to be able to go back and you're going to be able to look at the image of every single rookie patch autograph card when it was created from the manufacturer, which prevents patch swapping, which has been a problem. We've talked about it on this show before. People will buy cards and then they will swap the patch out for a better looking patch, but it's fake, but it makes it look better. And then collectors will pay more, not realizing the patch is fake. It's hard for grading companies to detect when patches are swapped out. So this has been a routine problem, and Upper Deck is trying here to find a solution. There's even been high-end sets, like go all the way back to exquisite basketball and even cards like LeBron James rookie patch autograph, where some of those have had patches swapped out. So this has been a problem that has gone on for many years, and Upper Deck seems to be stepping up to the plate to solve it. This system that they're going to have, they're also including unique serial numbers on the cards. The cards will have a QR code so you can look up the image of that card in its original condition from scanning right there on the card. They're even going to be slabbing these RPAs to ensure authenticity within the product. So they're taking a lot of different steps here. Teapot, I'm sure some of this is music to your ears. You have been asking for the manufacturers to step up their systems and processes for ensuring the authenticity of the cards in the past. What was your reaction when you heard this news?
My reaction to this was that I like the thought, I really do, but the intention is good, but the execution really doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because unless I'm mistaken, the QR code is not on the card. The QR code is on a slab, basically, that Upper Deck has sealed it inside, almost like an uncirculated card, like a Dynasty or something. But what if you want to get the card graded? So you take it out of that, and then it's gone, and then it's lost. And from what I understand, the index of all these things is not actually searchable. So you can't go out to this website and then search for your serial number for the given card and player to still confirm what it looks like. It's basically lost forever, or the QR code's gone. Now, one thing we do know is maybe like Beckett would slab it inside of the slab in one of their big booklet holders or something like that, so that you don't ever lose that. But PSA is certainly not going to do that. So the execution's a little weird. I was like trying to think about this. What is this? So it'd be like if I went to the car manufacturer or car dealer and their new anti-theft system was just one of those magnetic like domino signs on top of the car that you can just pull off and then get rid of the anti-theft system. Or if Apple's Find My Phone was not actually in the phone hardware inside of itself, but was just a case that you had to buy to put around the phone that somebody could take off of the phone as soon as they steal it from you. So I really applaud the thought here and prioritizing this and giving access to viewable images. The database should be public and searchable. Yep. Now, if they're worried about an end user having like their card spoiled, they don't want it public, they don't want it known and shared, but they need to be able to protect this, then what I think is the first time you scan that QR code, you get the ability to decide whether or not you publish that image or not, perhaps. Something's got to happen where there's a mechanism to make it so that if you want to protect it, you can. But I guess that still doesn't solve the issue if you want to get the card graded. So overall, to me, it should just be printed on the card. That's the no-brainer. Print it on the back of the card. I'm sure there's plenty of real estate. Maybe that seems a little bit tacky for a high-end product, but I think the collectors would still appreciate that because of the intention of what they're trying to do here.
That's interesting. I did not realize. I assumed when I read the story that the QR code was going to be put onto the card itself. I'm kind of with you there, Teapot, but I do love the idea, and I do hope that this leads to more of this type of thing in the hobby. Doug, are you with Teapot on the execution of this being poor, or do you just love the concept so much overall that you're all for it?
My notes are almost identical to what he said, so I'll try to keep it somewhat short. I think the idea is cool for sure. Like, this is a step in the right direction. There's been really public matters of fraud in this case. I remember the LeBron exquisite that had the patch swapped out. There is a high-profile lawsuit over that, right? So that's been a problem, and this is a start to address that. But as I read it, the card is encapsulated, and it does say that the QR code is on the slab that it's encapsulated in.
Yeah, I just pulled it up and looking at it again.
I don't know about the unique serial number. If the unique serial number were on the card and not the slab, that would work, but I think that's also on the slab from what I saw. So that kind of defeats the purpose of this, because you're going to want to take it out of the slab and either put it in your own display or get it graded, and then you've lost this measure of security. And by having the database not fully searchable, those things don't mesh with each other. If the database were fully searchable, then you could get rid of the slab it came in. You could just look up, this is card number 4 out of 10, find that one, does it look the same? I can trust it for the most part. But since you can't do that, those things just don't really mesh well together. So I think at the very least, you have to make the database fully searchable. It serves more function than just what I was talking about as well. if it were fully searchable and I wanted to collect a certain player or a certain team, I could go find which patches look the best to me and then pursue that card, right? But in this instance, I think it serves a bigger purpose than then verifying a card if someone were to take it out of its encasement. The cool thing about this, though, is it is a test run for them. They said this was going to be a test. They were going to gauge how people received it and then roll it out to all product lines eventually. That's the end goal. So, maybe they tweak this, maybe they hear some advice from the collectors and they make some necessary changes, and this becomes something they roll out to everything, and it ends up being a really great thing.
Yeah.
Well, here you go, Upper Deck. You just heard our feedback. I'm with you guys. I don't understand why the database would not be publicly searchable. To me, that makes all the sense in the world. Make the database publicly searchable. I don't know why you would need to make it private, but I don't know. Hopefully they'll take that feedback and make improvements to it as it goes forward. We've got another major company in the hobby that also seems to be trying to innovate and make some changes. PSA recently sent out a survey to a select group of PSA customers, teasing some enhancements that they may begin to offer customers as part of the grading submission process. This got quite a bit of buzz because one of the things on the list was a card cleaning service. For $2.99 a card, PSA said that they would clean and buff your card to remove fingerprints, dust, and minor surface smudges. Now, immediately last week when this broke, immediately all over social media, people were starting to say, oh my God, PSA has now reversed their stance on card cleaning and they're now supporting card cleaning and this whole thing. PSA came out and clarified. PSA's president came out on social and said, no. We don't support any type of substance being sprayed on a card or any type of wax. This is not that. This is just simply the card being rubbed down with a microfiber cloth, which they do allow. The other stuff they still say is altering a card. So that's not what they're offering, but they are apparently offering at least now a rub down service with a microfiber cloth for $2.99 a card, or at least they're thinking about it. Other things on the list was you could potentially pay $7.99 to see grader's notes on your card. You could potentially pay $1.99 to have your graded card inserted into a PSA branded plastic card sleeve. Or you could potentially pay $4.99 to get premium high quality image scans of your card when it gets graded. Some of this stuff, they do some now for free. So I don't know if this means that they're going to now start charging for stuff like high resolution images, which are currently free, or maybe with certain service levels now it's no longer going to be free, or you only get low resolution. I don't know exactly what this all means, but it is interesting. They're surveying their customers. They're certainly thinking about some of these things. We'll start with you, Doug. When you saw this survey, what jumped out at you, and what do you think about PSA looking for new service lines to offer their customers?
Well, there was obviously, other things on the survey except for the one, everyone's talking about. The grader notes, I think are really important, and I would love to see that as a feature, but I don't know about $8 per card. That feels a little steep to me, but it's optional. So if you don't want to pay that much, you don't have to. I would love to see grader's notes on every card, but I don't think I'm going to be paying $8 a pop unless I'm doing a very small submission. The PSA branded sleeves, I think, should be included, period.
Yeah.
You should sleeve the slab as soon as it's done encapsulating because they're going to get scuffed or swirl marks on it or whatever. And that's got to be a pretty low cost to them, I would think. They could probably make that cost up pretty seamlessly. So I'd love to see that just being free and not charging for the PSA branded sleeves. Of course, the big one that caught everybody's attention was the original survey question, and it said card cleaning and light buffing service to remove fingerprints, smudges, dust, and remove minor surface scratches.
That's right.
And that went crazy, went viral. They have since updated the verbiage. It no longer reads that way. And now it reads wipe down service. Not what you said, that was something different.
Yeah,
wipe down service. Wipe down to primarily remove fingerprints, smudges, and dust. So they removed the whole minor surface scratches thing. And that's the important qualification there. I actually thought they already did that, to be transparent. I thought they already wiped fingerprints off of cards. So I need to be a little bit more diligent, I guess, when I do submissions. I don't know where I got that impression, but that's what was in my head. But the main thing to remember, this is a survey. They're just gauging interest on this stuff. It doesn't mean they'll do any of this. It doesn't mean if they do it, it's going to cost X amount. This is just kind of how they're figuring out what's next for them in the pipeline. So I can appreciate, the effort of reaching out to the community and seeing what they want. I think some of this will hit, some of it probably won't.
Teapot, what jumped out to you on this?
I think it may have been CGC, Andy Broom, that said in an interview that they do the basic like cleaning,
Maybe
but
so.
I'm pretty sure PSA's always said they don't. They just take the card out as it is, and I've always microfibered the cards, and I don't know that it would be worth $3 per card to me to save just what I can do with a little hot breath and like getting the dust and off of my cards. As Doug said, the original verbiage definitely caused quite a stir, and now I gotta say I don't like the new terminology either. What Jeff said was definitely something different, but the word wipe down service just doesn't sound right. Like rub down service doesn't sound right, neither does wipe down service. There are certain words in the English language, others including moist, squirt, and other things that just have connotation that always feel uncomfortable to hear and say, even when used to describe a brownie or something else. So it makes me twitch a little bit, the wipe down service verbiage. Just call it card cleaning. That's what it is. It's not altering, it's not trimming, it's not scratch, removal. Just call it card cleaning. But there's a stigma with that, part of which PSA has helped to cause, I suppose. So I like the survey overall. I like that what they're doing. Grading, as I've said many times, is one of the most polarizing topics in the hobby, if not the most polarizing at this point, other than maybe Jeff himself. So I think, I'm going to say a nice thing. PSA is always very much on the forefront now of looking for ways to continuously improve. I'm sure people will call me a PSA shill now in the comments for saying a nice thing. But I liked the survey. I saw a lot of the questions. Neo did good coverage, and so did some others. So looking forward to seeing what they prioritize
One more thing
next.
real quick. I feel like when we first talked about this whole Kurt's card care thing, one of you, I feel like, predicted or maybe joked that PSA would eventually come out with their own line of cleaning products.
We definitely talked about it.
This is like a baby step in that direction. Like maybe we actually are getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting stuff for sure. And I don't know, gentlemen. I feel like you've taken this show way beyond a G-rated direction here. So I'm gonna bring it back on track for our final episode of the day, for our final segment of the day. Actually, maybe not back on track, because now we got to talk about breaking. And for many, breaking is not a G-rated segment either. We got to talk about breaking because now breaking can be done on Walmart, on Walmart's app. In fact, Walmart has entered the box breaking market with a live streaming debut. So Walmart has created their own live streaming, live selling platform. They're calling it, I believe, Walmart Live. Go figure. I assume this is probably, I haven't played with it myself, but I assume it's kind of like an eBay Live or, a little bit maybe like a Fanatics Live or a whatnot or any of these different platforms, right? Where you can go on there, sellers can sell products, etc. And as part of that, Walmart, of course, wants to have breaking available on Walmart Live. So they partnered with We The Hobby to do the first break ever on Walmart's platform. So I thought this was interesting news that now you've got the largest shopping retailer in the United States getting into breaking, or at least supporting breaking in some manner through their live selling platform. Teapot, when you heard about this, what did you think? Is this a big deal, a little bit deal, or kind of no deal at all?
Everybody's getting their piece of pie. Dick's is growing their footprint. Lots of big corporations now seeing this. What I will say is, to me, this tells me there's a lot of big money, very bullish on the sports card industry overall. And I'll use that word as opposed to hobby, because when I see big business kind of getting involved, I think they're, very understandably thinking bottom line dollars and cents. They're for-profit corporations. What I hope is that this doesn't mean more MJ Holdings retail boxes are somehow getting backdoored to breakers through Walmart Live now, instead of landing on the shelves where everyday consumers should have access to them. But it doesn't surprise me at all. I don't know how successful this will be. It does seem like more like a GameStop type splash, where there's, some company that hasn't historically had anything to do with sports cards, for example, suddenly putting them in front of people's, faces. So I'm wondering, when I go to do my Walmart delivery order, and I'm shopping for, my groceries, am I going to see some like little ad that's going like, do you want to get into this break now too? And sorry kids, the Greek yogurt's off the table this week because I had to buy into the Tigers. So I don't know. Overall, just not surprised. Not a lot else to say about it.
Doug, what's your reaction on this one?
I was entirely unaware I needed a new platform to purchase breaks on. I was also entirely unaware that Walmart Live was a thing, so I'm learning lots of stuff today. That's fantastic. I know very little about this except the surface level information. I view this the same way I originally viewed GameStop. I thought that was a really weird idea that didn't make sense. So you can kind of see where I'm going here. It's, when I saw that marriage, I was like, I would never trust GameStop to handle my cards or grade my cards. They're not professionals in this space. I wouldn't trust Walmart for breaking. They did the smart thing, though. They paired with a reputable, well-known breaker with We The Hobby, so that kind of removes some of that skepticism I would have there. But I don't know that we need another entry into this ecosystem. We have a lot of options. I've got 2 live breaking apps on my phone, and I know of at least 4 others that exist. I don't want another one. I don't need another one. I've got so many options. They must see something, though. They must have run some numbers. They have somebody in corporate that is in tune with our industry and sees what's there for the taking, and they want to jump in on it. I don't know. I don't see this being successful. That's just not a name I feel like is synonymous with what we do in our industry and our hobby. Who knows, though? I was super wrong about GameStop, and maybe this is just me being wrong again.
There are a lot of people, Doug, who I would say Walmart is their primary source for product. A lot of people go there, and people love retail product, and a lot of people, especially maybe people who maybe don't have a local hobby shop near them, and they hit up their local Walmart, and that's their source for new releases.
We're going to see Amazon Live next.
All right, I don't know. Maybe we will.
Well, they own Twitch, so that's just Twitch.
Maybe we will. Awesome. I don't know. All right, well, guys, let us know what you think in the YouTube comments. Tell us your thought on Walmart Live breaking, plus all the other topics on today's show. And don't forget, you can get 20% off your first Arena Club Slab Pack. Just download the Arena Club app, and then it is promo code SCI20 for 20% off your first purchase. Thank you for watching. I'm going back to my raining vacation now, and I'll let Teapot and Doug go back to work, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.